Hi everyone. So welcome to the first Code with Me session on decision making statements. Here in this video, we will discuss several questions that do come in boards exam of class 9 and 10 that are basically based on if, else and switch case. Obviously, I won't be able to discuss each and every type of questions, but I will be trying to focus my attention on the most difficult type of questions that do come in boards exam so that easier questions you can always handle. If else, I will be discussing two types of questions and giving you examples of two different types of ISC questions that come on that type. And in switch case, I will be discussing two different types of questions and showing you the programming examples of each of them. So let's start. So the very first type of questions that do come into boards exam is, suppose you are asked to write a program where you need to enter three unequal numbers and find the second greatest of three numbers. One such program I have already hosted in the first video, or the Java Basic 9 at timestamp 1606 and 1747. You can go to that video, watch that video. The approach is quite similar to that, but you need to make certain maneuvers to make the program correct. Right. I will leave that to you and move on to the next type. Type 2 of if-else statement is, suppose you are asked to write a program where you need to input the total number of calls and print a monthly bill. Each customer has to pay as monthly charges. Fine. So after this, in your boards exam, you will be given a description. For example, they will give you a description such as up to 50 calls is free. For the next 100 call, it's rupees 1 per call. For the next 200 calls, you will be charged at 1.10 per call. Beyond 350 calls, you will be charged at 1.20 per call. Please remember this chart because for the next half of the video, you will be seeing an approach based on this question, and I will be not showing this question again. So let's start. So for the first 50 calls, just remember what we need are two variables, a call variable and a price variable. So we need these two variables or these two parameters as in Java before we start our program. Then let's take an example. Suppose the total number of calls you have made is 49, right? So as per the given questions, for the first 50 calls, it's free, right? So you basically need not pay any price for it and your total bill comes 0. Henceforth, we conclude that the number of calls is 50 or it is less than 50, then the price you pay or the bill you pay is 0, right? Let's see what happens for the next 100 calls. For the next 100 calls, we know the input parameters or the variables that we need is our calls and price. This is what we have learned till now, that if my number of calls is 50 or less than 50, then my price is 0. I am not charged anything. Now, suppose the number of calls you make is 65. Okay, so for the first 50 calls, I don't need to pay anything, right? So what I need to pay is for the 65 minus 50, that is for the 15 calls only, and my 15 calls will be charged rupees 1 as given in the question. So my total price will be rupees 50. That is, whatever I subtract from the number of calls, the 65 minus 50, this number will always be the price I need to pay whenever my number of calls will be less than 150, because for 50 calls it's free. For the next 100 calls, 50 plus 100 is 150. So for the next 100 calls, I have to pay number of calls minus 50. I hope that much is clear. Let's see the next step. Now for the next 200 calls, we have learned till this much that 50 or less than 50 calls are free. For 150 to less than 150 calls are basically number of calls minus 50 rupees. Now let's take an example when the number of calls is equal to 160. Since the first 50 calls are free, I need to pay 165 minus 50 rupees. That is 115 calls are still left, right? And for this 50 calls, I am charged rupees 0. Now, out of this 115 calls so far, I know that the 100 calls were charged at rupees 1, right? So 115 minus 100, that is 15 calls are left, and I am charged rupees 100 because this 100 calls are rupees 1 each, and therefore I have to pay rupees 100 plus price of 15 calls. Since this 15 calls exceed this 150 amount, because 100 plus 50 is 150, and this 15 calls are extra, right? Therefore I need to pay 1.10 for the next 15 calls, which makes up to rupees 16.5, and 100 rupees for this 100 calls and 0 rupees for the 50 calls. See, this 100 rupees is basically the price I need to pay for the first 150 calls I have made. The next 15 calls are priced at rupees 50. Therefore, my expression stands as 165 minus 150 into 1.10, which is the price I need to pay for calls above 150, plus 0, which is 0 rupees, which is mainly because first 50 calls are free, and then I need to pay 100 into 1 because for the next 100 calls I make, they are charged at rupees 1 each, and hence therefore the expression stands as this. Now I can understand, or I can see, that 200 plus 150 gets to 350. So the calls I make, the price I need to pay for calls less than 350 or equal to 350 is basically this much, right? And this expression comes from this. Now the next 350 calls are beyond 350 calls. I have already learned that for the number of calls which are less than 50 are priced at 0. For the number of calls for the next 100 calls, I need to pay number of calls minus 50, and if the number of calls are less than 350, then I need to pay this much amount. Now let's take another example with the number of calls up to 65. So for the first 50 calls I do, I am not charged for anything, right? So I am left with 315 calls. Therefore, the total price I paid till now is rupees 0. Next, I can see that for the next 100 calls I make, I am charged rupees 1. So I am left now with 215 calls. For 100 calls I am charged rupees 100. For 50 calls I am charged rupees 0. Right? For 50 calls I am charged rupees 0. For 100 calls I am charged rupees 100. And I am left with 215 calls more now. The next 200 calls, I know that I will be charged at 1.10. Henceforth, I am left with 15 more calls now, and I am paying 220 rupees for this 200 calls. So 200 into 1.10 is 220. 100 rupees for this 100 calls, and for the first 50 calls I had made, I never need to pay anything for it. Therefore, this 15 calls now will be charged at 1.20, and therefore I will be paying rupees 80, rupees 220 for the 200 calls I made, rupees 100 for the 100 calls I made, and rupees 0 for the first 50 calls. Therefore, my expression stands as 365 minus 50 plus 100 plus 200. That is number of calls minus 350 into 120 plus 0 for the first 50 calls, because first 50 calls were free, 100 into 1 because the next 100 calls were charged at ₹1, and 200 into 1.10 because the next 200 calls were charged at 1.10. Henceforth, my final and the last expression will stand as, whenever the calls are more than 350, I can see the number of calls minus 350 into 1.20 plus 0 plus 100 into 1 plus 200 into 1.10. So that's the logic. Now this chart, as we have discovered or as we have formulated till now, let's convert this into a flow chart. Right? So this is our conclusion that we made, and let's convert this into a flow chart so that we can easily convert it into a program in the next part. So first we need to take an input. After we take the input of the number of calls we have made, we need to make a decision, right? If the decision is less than or equal to 50, then that is, my condition is true, that my number of calls are less than or equal to 50, then I know that I need to pay a price of 0. But if it is false, then I have to check whether it is less than 150 or not. If it is less than or equal to 150, that is, this is true, then I know that I have to pay a price of number of calls minus 50. But if it is false, then I need to check whether this is less than or equal to 350 or not. If it is less than or equal to 350, that is, my condition matches, then I need to pay this much amount, right? And if it is false, I know that the number of calls I have made are beyond 350, and therefore my monthly bill will stand as this much amount, right? So now let's go and check how do we code it in Java. So I have already coded this question for you, and now let's check this out. Input java.util.star is basically the package where we have scanner class, so we need to declare it so that we can use scanner class as our input in the next step. Now we declare our main function. Now we declare the scanner object so that we can take the inputs. Now number of calls is basically the input we need to take. Since number of calls can never be in decimals, that we cannot have number of calls as 10.5 or 10.1, right? So number of calls is always an integer, and therefore we have it declared as int. Next we see a double cost of calls. Cost of calls can be in decimals, right? So we have taken the input as double cost of calls. Then we ask the user to print the total number of calls. That is, we ask the user that please enter the total number of calls, and here we do so. Now we check as per our flowchart we constructed. We know if the number of calls are less than or equal to 50, then the total price is 0, right? So the cost of calls is 0. Otherwise, else if the number of calls are less than 150, then the cost of calls will be basically number of calls minus 150, right? Again, if this is not true and we get to this point, this decision that number of calls is less than or equal to 350 or not, right? If this is true, then my price will be number of calls minus 150 into 1.10 plus 0 plus 100 into 1. And if it is again false, then my number of calls will be my cost of calls will be number of calls minus 350 into 1.20 plus 0 plus 100 into 1 plus 200 into 1 plus 1.10, right? And finally we print the total cost will be rupees, or the cost of calls we print as our total cost. So let's compile it and see the output. No syntax error. So here's the input output. When I enter 165 as a total number of calls I made, the total billing is 116.5. Now I have a question for you. The question is, you have already seen this code, right? Now tell me the difference between this code and this code. If you can see, I have just reversed everything, right? I have checked whether the number of calls are more than 350 or not. If it is, then I have taken this way. If my number of calls are less than 350 or less than equal to 350, then I have done this. There is nothing wrong in it, right? Is there? I will let you think for some time. You can pause the video and then think about it. Till then, if you have already thought about it, then let me show you the output. So this is my terminal. Let's try and give an input of 65. What do I expect the output to be? Basically, expect the output to be 15 rupees, right? Because first 50 calls are free and you need to pay for the next 15 calls only, and the next 15 calls should have been charged at rupees 1. So you should have paid rupees 15. But you can see that you are paying an amount of rupees 6.499. So now tell me, how is this possible? This is not possible, right? The reason why this happens is that when you come here, then your total number of calls is more than 350 is checked. 65 is not more than 350, but 65 is less than 350, right? Less than equal to 350. Since this is true, therefore this statement is fired and we never get into this part of the block, and our answer is never 15. So let's check what happens. 65 minus 150 is minus 85. Now when you multiply that with 1.10, then you get 93.5 minus 93.5. Now when you add 100 to it, you get rupees 6.5. Thereby, you can see something, that this answer is basically because we are falling into a wrong decision statement. So how do you correct this? We correct this if we can declare a range, that is a range of values, then this condition will be fired. If I put to make a decision that the number of calls should have been less than equal to 350, and I should have ensured that this condition will only be fired if my number of calls are more than 150 as well. It should be less than 350 and more than 150, and then only this statement should fire. This statement should fire whenever the number of calls are less than equal to 150 but they are more than 50. Then it should have been fired. Let's see how can we do that. So here's the code. So if you have changed your code like this, the number of calls is less than equal to 350 and which states that if this is true and this is true, then only this will be fired. If this is true and this is true, then only this will be fired. So now let's get into our terminal and see whether this is giving the right answer or not. So now let's check this code out, whether this works or not. So let's enter 65 as the total number of calls we have made, and see, this time this condition is fired, because when I get here, my total number of calls 65 is less than 350, but it is not more than 150. Henceforth, I cannot fire this statement, right? Since and since my total number of calls is less than 150 and it's more than 50, therefore it should be finding this one, and that should have been my answer. And this is why this is the right approach. So you need to keep in mind always when you are coding it, how to solve or how to handle situations whenever you are handling ranges. Questions or more different type of if else questions that do come as this type in boards exam. This question is taken from ICSE 12. You can see that you have to handle range here, and I have shown you how can you handle a range using AND. You will be testing all these questions and all these things using an if block and handle a range that if your price is more than 55001 and it is less than 70,000, then you will be applying a discount of 16%. So this is the way you will be handling this kind of a questions in ICSE or in class 9 exams as well. Furthermore, this type of questions that foster a sense of water conservation, the water department has annual conservation tax policy. The rates are based on consumption of the consumer. So again, you see that there is a range and you have to pay a tax rate of rupees this basis of the range. Similar way you need to approach this question as well. So ICSE is really easy because you will be getting questions on the similar type. You just need to practice. Now let's delve into switch case. Switch case as well. You will be getting several types of questions, but whenever you will be seeing a switch case question in boards exam, you will be seeing that they are punched. You will never see a single way switch case question which will be only based on the switch case topic. You will be given menu-driven programs where you need to implement looping. Majorly this kind of questions come in ICSE, and henceforth we will not be discussing those type of questions now unless and until we cover for loop. Thereby, switch case statements. For now, I will be showing you one of the examples so that you can handle switch case statements on menu-driven program this way. One of such programs I have already shown you in my previous video, Java Basic 9 at timestamp 34.10. You can see that video for further insights. Let's delve into this topic. Suppose you have a program like this and you need to display your temperature in degree Celsius, degree Fahrenheit and Kelvin depending upon what the user wants you to. Suppose the first choice is that the user wants to enter in degree Celsius, and then you need to display your temperatures in degree Celsius, Fahrenheit and Kelvin. If the user is displaying it in Fahrenheit, then display it in degree Celsius and Kelvin, and if the user is displaying in Kelvin, then display in degree Celsius and Fahrenheit. How will you do it? You already have the formulas over here, right? So say this: if the temperature is in degree Celsius, then you need to convert it with this formula. And first of all, you need to take a choice. Once you have that choice, switch that choice, mark your cases, and you are done. So let's see a flowchart, then we will dive into the code. This is the flowchart. First we have switch. If the choice is equals to 1, convert it into Fahrenheit and Kelvin. If your choice is false, you get into the second choice, and if you see the choice matches equal to 2, then convert it to degree Celsius and Kelvin, and if it falls, then you have your temperature in Kelvin, convert into Fahrenheit and Celsius. And if all these three are false, then you have the wrong input. So you can prompt the user that you have entered a wrong choice. So let's delve into the code editor and see how can we handle this. So here we come, and let's see this code. So we have utility package declared first. Then we have the class name as switch case. Then we take the input using a scanner class function. That's why we declare a scanner object here. This flag, as you can see here, int flag equal to 1. Why we had set up this, I will be telling you just in a few seconds. Now we need to declare certain variables. Let my variable be temperature in Celsius, temperature in Fahrenheit, temperature in Kelvin. And all of them, let me declare it as double, because temperature can be in decimals, right? The user to enter 1 in order to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit and Kelvin, 2 Fahrenheit to Celsius and Kelvin, 3 for Kelvin to Celsius and Fahrenheit. Now the user enters a choice, right? 1, 2 or 3, whichever he wants to. After that, I ask him the temperature, because I need to convert it then, right? So I do switch choice. I take the choice from the user and I do switch choice. After that, I have 3 cases here. The first case is I am taking the temperature in Celsius. Therefore, I do SC.next double. Then I apply the formula to convert this Celsius into Fahrenheit. And after that, I apply the same formula to convert it into Kelvin. And I store it in these 3 variables. In the second case as well, I have my temperature in Fahrenheit. Therefore, apply a formula to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius and then just add 273 to it to convert it into Kelvin. Next up, we have a temperature in Kelvin. We take it as our input. Then we just subtract 273 because we know that when you subtract 273 from Kelvin, then you get Celsius. Thereby you apply again the formula which is same, right, like this, Celsius to Fahrenheit formula, and you are done. Now see, suppose the user enter 4, right, then 3 cases shouldn't match, and you should be prompted with this, that the choice, please enter your choice from 1 to 3, right, and then I have set the flag equal to 0. Why I have set the flag equal to 0 is that if I hadn't set the flag equal to 0, then my console would have given the output as 0.0, 0.0, 0.0, right? In order to stop that, I need a flag variable so that I display this temperature only when user has input the right choice. Let's see an example to understand it better. I hope there is a temperature, you know, which is equal in both the scales, Celsius and Fahrenheit. Right? Let's check that. So let's enter choice number 3. So now it's prompting us to enter the temperature. Right? So we are here. We have entered our choice and choice is saved at 3. Now we have to enter our temperature. Let's enter it as 233. Right? So whenever you enter 233, you see that our output is same input, the temperature. That is, our program is running correct. Right? Now suppose we would have run our code again and we have entered a temperature of 7, and it would have prompted us that enter the choice from 1 to 3. This has come because I have given it over here. Right. You can use that flag variable again to help it out. But otherwise, you can see that the user has only prompted us that it needs a choice from 1 to 3. Suppose we have not done this thing, right, and we had compiled it and then we had run it, and then again I entered 7 as my choice. See, 0, 0, 0. This shouldn't have been, right? Enter choice from 1 to 3 is prompted, but still they are giving me an output of 0, 0, 0. In order to stop this, I had used flag. Right? Thank you for today's video. I hope you like it. I will attach some of the problem statements in description below. You can see that, check that out. Do give a thumbs up if you like this video. Thank you. See you again in the next video.